Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavate Naishtike. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, text numbers 30 and 30, 31, 32. And that's what we're discussing today. All right, so we'll put the verse on the screen. Trilokyam Dayamanayanam Shaktya Shankarshanan Nina Yante Usmana Maharlokaj Janam Brigav Adayo Riditaha. Synonyms. Trilokyam, when the spheres of the three worlds. Dayamanayam, being set ablaze. Shaktya, by the potency. Shankarshana, from the mouth of Shankarshan. Agnina, by the fire. Yanti, they go. Usmana, heated by the warmth. Mahalokat, from Maharloka. Janam, to Janaloka. Brigu, the sage Brigu. Adayaha, and others. Ariditaha, being so distressed. Translation. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Shankarshan, and thus great sages like Brigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. No purport, so we go to text 31. Tavat Bhuvanam Sadhyaha Kalpantai Idita Sindava Plavayante Utkata Tupa Chandavatarir Tulmayaha. Word for word translations. Tavat, then. Bhuvanam, all the three worlds. Sadhyaha, immediately after. Immediately after. Kalpa Anta, in the beginning of the devastation. Edita, inflated. Sindavaha, all the oceans. Plavayanti, inundate. Utkata, violent. Atupa, agitation. Chanda, hurricane. Vata, by winds. Irita, blown. Urumayaha, waves. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Param Guru Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus, the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all, the three worlds are full of water. Purport. It is said that the blazing fire from the mouth of Shankarshan rages for 100 years of the demigods, or 36,000 human years. Then for another 36,000 years, there are torrents of rain accompanied by violent winds and waves, and the seas and oceans overflow. These reactions of 72,000 years are the beginning of the partial devastation of the three worlds. People forget all these devastations of the world and think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, or that which is not. Text 32. And tahasa tasmin salila ashte nanta santuharihi yoganedra nime lakshaha stuyamano janalayayi. Synonyms: antaha, within; saha, that; tasmin, in that; salile, water; ashte, there is; ananta, ananta; ashanaha, on the seat of; harihi, the Lord; yoga, mystic; nidra, sleep; nimila akshaha, eyes closed; Stuya Manaha, being glorified; Jana Alayahi, by the inhabitants of the Jana local planets. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Sri Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of Janaloka planets offer unto the Lord their glorious prayers with folded hands. Purport: we should not understand the sleeping condition of the Lord to be the same as our sleep. Here, the word yoga nidra is specifically mentioned, which indicates that the Lord's sleeping condition is also a manifestation of his internal potency. Whenever the word yoga is used, it should be understood to refer to that which is transcendental. In the transcendental stage, all activities are always present, and they are glorified by prayers of great sages like Brigu. Om Ajana Timrandasya, Jana Jana Shalakaya, Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yenabu Talis, Swayam Rupa Kadama, Yam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Tirta Swamini Tinamine. Namaste Krishna Padaya, Prabhupada Shtatatmane, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Ti 39. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Danta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Kulavani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavade, Pastacha Dishatarini. Vancha Kalpa Taribyas Cha, Kripa Sindivya Eva Cha, Patitana Pavanevyo Vaishnavibyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tuishi Namaha. Nama Brahmanya Devayago Brahmana Hitya Chacha Katitya Krishna Govinda Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, devotees, thank you for being here as always. So today's texts deal with annihilation, partial annihilation. We're dealing with one day of Lord Brahma. And yesterday we learned from the various verses which we studied, led by His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu, that there are 14 manus in one day of Lord Brahma. And in that one day of Lord Brahma, there are 4 yugas, which is Chatru Yuga, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. 1,000 times of this kalpa, of this Chatru yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, when they all go round, 1,000 times makes one day of Lord Brahma. And within those days, we have 14 manus. Of course, we've also understood that Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. That is 100 years Lord Brahma time. And he has lived 50 years of his time. And out of the 14 manus, we are now in the 7th manu, Vaivashvatam manu. The first manu was Swayambhav manu. So this 7th one, his term will also come to an end, and another manu will come. In fact, all the 14 manus have already been named. That will appear in one day of Lord Brahma. So when Lord Brahma goes to sleep, because one day of Lord Brahma, which constitutes 1,000 Chatru yugas, which is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. of Lord Brahma's time. It's unimaginable. And then from Lord Brahma's 6 p.m. to another 6 a.m. in the morning, we still have same 1,000 Chatru yugas together. So Srila Prabhupada was giving us the math in his purport that in this devastation, which is 100 years of the demigods, and when we translate that into our earthly human calculation, that is 36,000 years. So for 36,000 years, there will be so much blazing fire emanating from the lotus mouth of Shankarshan, who is none other than Narayan. We should understand and remember, of course, that Krishna expands to Lord Balaram, and then Lord Balaram expands to the Chatru Vyuha, Shankarshan, Aniruddha, Padumana, Baladev. And then Shankarshan, Narayan expands again, and then we have another second set of the Chatru Vyuhas. So sometimes this fire coming from the lotus mouth of Shankarshan, sometimes some scriptures refer to as coming from Narayan. It's coming from Narayan because it is the first Narayan of the Chatru Vyuha that expanded to have the second Chatru Vyuha. And then the second expansion of the Chatru Vyuha, that is Shankarshan, is the one in charge of spewing out this blazing fire from the lotus mouth, from beneath this universe. Now, we should also understand that These four incarnations of Lord Balaram, they all have specific duties to perform. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, I will try to put it up here for us to see. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 24, text 35, it is said, Shankarshanaya Shukshmaya Durantayan Kaya Cha Namo Vishwa Prabhutyaya Pradumnyayantar Atmane. My dear Lord, you are the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of all integration as well as the master of all disintegration, the predominating deity named Shankarshan. So in this text, we are being helped to understand that the incarnation of the Lord called Shankarshan is the one responsible for all integration. That is, things, elements, beings coming together. And at the same time, disintegrating them is Shankarshan, who is in charge of that. And the master of all intelligence, known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. So Pradyumna, one of the Chaturvyuhas, is also in charge of all sorts of intelligence. Srila Prabhupada has helped explain what intelligence is. Srila Prabhupada explains intelligence to be the ability to analyze things in their right perspective. So whatever intelligence we may have, whether the intelligence of being criminology, studying criminology to help criminals being caught, that intelligence is coming from Krishna. The intelligence to understanding herbs is also by the grace of this predominating deity called Pradyumna. And it says, therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks, the whole universe is maintained by the integrating power of the Supreme Lord, who is known in that capacity by the name Shankarshan. The material scientist may have discovered the law of gravity, which maintains the integration of objects within the material energy. Yet, the master of all integration can create devastation by the disintegrating blazing fire emanating from his mouth. We should be mindful, his here is capitalized, referring to the Supreme Lord. So there is no difference between Swayam Bhagavan Krishna and Balaram and these Chaturvyuhas, of which Shankarshan is one of the Chaturvyuhas. And therefore, the pronoun used, his, here is capitalized, representing Krishna. A description of this can be found in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein the universal form of the Lord is described. The master of integration is also the destroyer of this world by virtue of his disintegrating energy. So generally, when one knows the science of making something happen, one also has knowledge of the science of making that same thing disappear. Just like we see in the case of Abhimanyu, Arjun's son. He knew the art of getting into the, I've forgotten the Sanskrit name, but maybe it will come. But in the martial war, in the martial art of war, there are different circles that is created for certain individuals to fight within such circles. And this Abimanyu knew the science of getting in, but he did not know the science of getting out. And that was the cause of his death. So, because Shankashan is the master of integration, he is also at the same time the master of disintegration. In other words, he knows how to bring things together. And if he decides not to bring things together, then things disintegrate. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining in this purport that scientists may have come about with this theory of the force of gravity, that when you throw something up in the sky, the force of gravity will pull it down. But they do not understand why that is the case. They may come up with all sorts of theories, but there is a personality involved in charge of making that happen. And when that personality ceases to make that happen, then you may throw things in the sky and they will not drop. So if we continue, Shankashan is the master of integration and disintegration, whereas Pradyumna, another feature of Lord Vasudeva, is responsible for universal growth and maintenance. The word Shukshmaya is significant because within this gross material body, there are subtle material bodies, namely mind, intelligence, and ego. The Lord in his different features, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Shankarshan, maintains both the gross and subtle material elements of this world. Again, we see here Srila Prabhupada's mastery in the English language and in grammar. Srila Prabhupada mentions the Chaturvya, the Lord and his different features, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Shankarshan. They are four, but he says maintains. Therefore, these four are not just separate individuals. They are all one. That's why we say if Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Shankarshan, if they are four, then you say they. And if you use they, then you're going to say they maintain. But if it is one, then you say he maintains. So even though there are four mentioned here, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Shankarshan, Srila Prabhupada says maintains both the gross and subtle material elements of this world. In other words, Krishna, the Swayam Bhagavan, he maintains both the gross and subtle material elements of this world in his manifestation as Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Shankarshan, with respective engagements in this material world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the gross material elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether, sky, and the subtle material elements are mind, intelligence, and ego. All of them are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And this will be further explained in the following verse. So Srila Prabhupada explained in this purport, where Krishna explains to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, when Arjuna requested Krishna, if you say, you, Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means that you are the master controller of everything. You are the beginning, the end, the middle of everything. If that is the case, I want to see that form of yours. So Krishna said, yes, I can help you see that, but you cannot see that form with these present eyes you have. Therefore, I'm going to give you the divine eyes by which you can see this form. And then Krishna revealed the universal form to Arjuna. So starting from Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, which is titled The Universal Form, the universal form, text 30. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. So what is being described in the Srimad Bhagavatam at the end of Lord Brahma's one day is what Sri Krishna explained to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita as we read it. So here there is no purport, but Srila Prabhupada gives purport to this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Shankarshan spews out flaming fire, and the heat is so strong. And after that, there is torrents of rain. And altogether, that is 72,000 years that this Maratya Loka is going to experience. When we say Maratya Loka, it is said that there are at least 10 different planets that are also considered to be earthly planets, because all these planets are within the middle planetary system. So there are 3 planetary systems. The planetary system that is above the Earth planet, the planetary system which is the earthly planet, and then the planets that are beneath the earthly planets, which is called Tapalaloka. And then we have the Maharloka, and then we have the Swargaloka, which is beyond, above these earthly planets. So all the planets beneath the Maharloka, they suffer these fiery energy coming from Shankarshan, and the water that is going to fill this part of the universe. Again, in the same vein of the devastation, if we go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, let me see. Okay. If we go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, excuse me. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, chapter 4. This Canto 12 is titled The Age of Deterioration. So Canto 4, chapter 4 deals with the 4 different categories of universal annihilation, which Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport to text 30 of chapter 11 of Canto 3 of the Bhagavatam. So here, this chapter discusses the 4 kinds of annihilation. These 4 different kinds of annihilation are called constant, occasional, material, and final. And Srila Prabhupada gives explanation to these 4 different categories of annihilation. So it says, and the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hari, which is the only means of stopping the cycle of material life. So whichever 4 of these kinds of annihilation that may be, our only solace is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. These three divine holy names of the Lord combined together, giving us this Maha Mantra. When they are chanted in the mood of a child crying out for the help from its mother, then with sincere rendering of service to Sri Krishna and the devotees of Krishna, then these annihilation may come, but the devotees will never be touched. So 1,000 cycles of 4 ages, which you've already discussed, constitute one day of Brahma. And each day of Brahma, called a kalpa, contains within it the lifetime of 14 Manus. This we said in our introduction. The duration of Brahma's night is the same as that of his day. During his night, Brahma sleeps, and the 3 planetary systems meet destruction. This is the naimitika, or occasional annihilation. When Brahma's lifespan of 100 years is finished, there occurs the prakritika, or total material annihilation. At that time, the 7 elements of material nature, beginning with the Mahat, an entire universal egg composed of them, are destroyed. When a person achieves knowledge of the absolute, he understands factual reality. He perceives the entire created universe as separate from the absolute and therefore unreal. That is called the atyantika, or final annihilation, liberation. At every moment, time invisibly transforms the bodies of all created beings and all other manifestations of matter. This process of transformation causes the living entity to undergo the constant annihilation of birth and death. Those possessed of subtle vision state that all creatures, including Brahma himself, are always subject to generation and annihilation. Material life means subjugation to birth and death, or generation and annihilation. The only boat suitable for crossing the ocean of material existence, which is otherwise impossible to cross, is the boat of submissive hearing of the nectarian pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we are doing. So, hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, chanting the holy names of the Lord, these are the very boat that will help cross us from this ocean of annihilation to that eternal abode where these infallibility does not happen. So this should not just be heard as just hearing, like we always hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it should come as a very dire warning to all of us, especially those of us in this part of the universe, within these 3 worlds within the universe, that this devastation is very horrible. You see, when Narada Muni came in contact with this hunter, Mrigari, Mrigari was a hunter, hunting animals for survival. That was his means of earning a livelihood. But oftentimes, he will kill these poor creatures, poor animals, half dead. And so when the Lord Narada Muni came across Mrigari and saw him killing these animals in such painful, senseless manner, half dead, he told him, he says, "Hey, Mrigari, why are you killing these poor animals?" He said, "My lord, of course, Mrigari, even though he was a hunter, he understood the position of Narada Muni. So when he saw Narada Muni, he knew him to be a saintly person. So he offered his humble obeisances unto Narada Muni. And then he told Narada Muni, my dear Lord, I know it's not very good to kill. Nobody wants to die. But I am more valuable than these animals. And in order for me to live, this is how I live. I kill these animals, I sell, and I make livelihood out of the sales of these dead animals. And I also consume this animal meat for survival." Narada Muni told Mrigari, "Well, that is okay. If that is how you live your life, you should understand that you will also become an animal in your next life and you will be eaten. You will be killed by another individual. But why do you have to kill the animals half dead? You don't kill them completely. You kill them, but you do not kill them completely. And in this way, they lay there struggling in pain for so long before they die. That is not good." So Narada Muni is telling us, well, death will come. We're all going to die. But the process of the death is what matters. Some people, and by Sri Guru Krishna's grace, I happen to witness so many deaths in my profession. I see so many deaths. And there are some people, they just feel ill and boom, they're gone. And there are others, they will be sick, they will be laying in their dying bed for days, for months, and sometimes years, going through so much excruciating pain, yet they're not dying. And sometimes they themselves will be wishing for death. Now, at this present moment, if you and me saw death, we will run away from death. But these people are in a position whereby they are actually running into death. Why? Because of the suffering. They cannot endure the suffering. So we all have experienced heat. We've all experienced certain times when the heat of the scorching sun was so much that lots of people were struggling. If you did not have air conditioning, if you did not have a fan, and you stepped outside of your room, the heat is strong enough to cause you to have heat stroke and sometimes cause you to die. Especially in summer, quite unfortunately, lots of people die from heat stroke. And when it's very, very cold, people also die from the opposite of heat stroke, which is severe cold, hypothermia. US is a very interesting country. Almost every time when part of the country is experiencing flood, part of the country is also experiencing fire. So just about 3 weeks or a month ago, there was one place in the US that was flooded. The entire city was flooded. So many people lost all their houses. They lost everything. We had so many loss of lives. And this was just rainfall for just about 3 days. And we all can imagine having fire coming from the lotus mouth of Shankarshan for 36,000 years of our calculation. And then after that, there is going to be inundation of flood everywhere for another 36,000 years. So we all can imagine what is going to be the condition of vegetation. Are we going to have vegetation? If there is no vegetation, then how are we going to have food? And if there is no food, then how are we going to live? And so it's very gruesome when we read the last days of this Kali Yuga, where annihilation will take place. It's very horrible. And it is something no intelligent person would want to go through this experience. And so now that you and me are here today, we are not experiencing these catastrophes, these annihilations. We have the opportunity, we have the ability, we have the comfort to serve the Lord, and possibly and likely have the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada has given us this assurance that the system set by the previous acharyas, which he has helped shaping them together for us, if any single individual practices and follows these similarly simple processes, one will go back home, back to Godhead in this particular lifetime. So what is causing us not to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime? Except we ourselves decide that we do not want to go. Well, sometimes we may decide that we want to go. Yet, due to weaknesses of the spirit, due to the weaknesses of the soul, I should say, weaknesses of the body, we fall short in adhering to the science given to us by the parampara, the acharyas. Like in the Bible, it is said that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Arjuna also said the same thing to Krishna. He says, you, Krishna, you asking me to control this mind. If you asking me to control the mind, why don't you ask me to control the wind? Because it will be easier for me to control the wind, the blazing wind, than to control the mind. And Krishna did not deny what Arjuna was saying. Arjuna's premise that controlling the wind is much easier than controlling the wind is much easier than control the mind. Krishna agreed with him because in reality, that is what it is. But Krishna also told Arjuna that as difficult as it is possible. How is it possible? It is possible by constantly engaging the mind in the service of Guru and Krishna. So wherever the mind goes, we have to bring the mind back to concentrate on Krishna. The mind is described to be chanchala, restless. It's just like the monkey. The monkey does not stay on one branch of a tree for long. It will sit on one branch, and a very short while it will move to the other branch. So the mind is like that. The mind is always restless. But no matter how restless it is, we should still keep it within the thoughts and the pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. And once we are able to do that, slowly, gradually, the mind will be tamed. Now, when we pray out to the Lord that this mind of mine is crazy, I cannot control it on my own, you have to help me. The mind is actually killing me even before I get killed. Now, Shakespeare said it so beautifully. He says, those who are coward, they die several times before their natural death. So those of us whose minds have not yet been tamed or controlled, we get destroyed so many times, even before this actual destruction comes into place. So the only way to avoid this annihilation coming from Shankarshan is we try to serve the Lord and his devotees, and we leave this material plane once and for all. Because as long as we are still cycling within this material world, we are definitely going to experience these dangerous, painful forms of annihilation. Like I was saying initially, dying is not the problem. We are going to die. So many people have come and they've died. Great, great personalities in the histories of the world have come, they did so much, they all died. So there is nothing new when you die or when I die. No, there is nothing new about that. But what is more concerning is the process, the pains that some of us are going to go through before we die. There are some of us, even before we die, before we leave this body, we experience hell. That is to tell us where our final destination is going to be. Some people, because they're going to go to hell, they experience hell here before they go to the actual hell. Some people think there is no geographical location anywhere within the universe called hell, and that hell is just in the mind. Yes, we cannot deny that hell is in the mind, but that does not also mean that there is no place called hell. There is a place called hell. There is a place called heaven where beings on those planets have so much things to enjoy. And in our own minds, we can also create that same scenario in our minds. And we can sit here and be happy in our minds. But that does not mean that there is no such a place called heaven. Whatever we see here has come first out of the mind. Before the Wright brothers invented aeroplane, they had conceived it in their mind. And then they brought forth out of it. And now we have it physically. So in our mind, we can create a plane, and physically, we can see it here. So how come someone will say that creating aeroplanes is just in the mind? You cannot see it physically. When we see it here, we get on the plane and we travel from point A to point B. So there is a place where sinful people are punished, and there is a place where pious people are recognized and glorified and adored, and they're given so much opportunities to enjoy for all the good things they've done in their lives. But whether it is in heaven or it is in hell or it's on this earthly planet, the suffering is there. And the only way to avoid the suffering is to get out of this material universe and go back to God. And like Srila Prabhupada explained, and also Srimad Bhagavatam itself explains in the text, the surest way of escaping this fire of devastation, this water of devastation, is constant hearing of the holy names of the Lord, constant chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So fortunately for us, somehow 5 days a week at least, we are hearing about the glories of the Lord from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are also chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these processes, these activities are both to help us cross this material creation to the spiritual creation, where things do not change, where there is no pain, where there is no agony, there is no loss of any soul. And with that, we may open up for questions and answers, if any, or reflections, if any. Hare Krishna. Thank you, all the devotees. Hare Bol. Any questions? Any comments? Anadine Nanam Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
All right, SAHADEVA Prabhu, accept my humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, the story that you have narrated between the conversation between the hunter Kadri and Narada Muni. I want you to clear my doubt on this test. Shima Bhagavatam Canto 6, I think 4-9 or so. Let me get a clarification here. Yes, yes, 649.
649.
Yes, 649.
That is the Hamsaguya prayers.
Yes.
Okay.
6.
Okay, let me put it up here on the screen. (649). Anam charanam acharahi apadapada charinam ahasta hasta yuktanam dvipadam cha chatuspadaha. By nature's arrangement, fruits and flowers are considered the food of insects and birds. Grass and other legless living entities are meant to be the food of four-legged animals like cows and buffalo. Animals that cannot use their front legs as hands are meant to be the food of animals like tigers, which have claws, and four-legged animals like deer and goats, as well as food grains, are meant to be the food of beings.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So in this case,
yeah,
I'm not encouraging flesh eating or meat eating.
Yeah.
But this is nature's arrangement. And in the purport also, Prabhupada says something, which means he said even Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, and Vaishyas, generally they don't eat meat, but Sudras do. But in some cases, Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt.
Yeah.
So, and in this age, we are all considered Sudras.
Yeah.
So Sudras eating meat is not news according to the purpose. That is in my little mind.
Yeah.
So I need clarification on this because we almost upon them flesh eaters. Yes, according to the purport, Bible says the cows are not considered to be eaten,
Yeah.
though, but the goats and deers,
Yeah.
so as well as food grains.
Yeah.
So I need a clarification on this test. In fact, I asked one senior devotee on this very test, but the answer that he gave me, I was not satisfied. So since you mentioned Kadri and Narada Muni story also, that is when I decided to bring this thing so that I can get a clarification on this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the question. It's in line because yes, we talked about Megari the hunter. He was killing animals, selling the meat for livelihood, and he himself was also eating the flesh. So, like the verse you gave here, it clearly accords human beings to kill certain types of animals for food. Yes. We as devotees of Hare Krishna, of ISKCON, like you yourself said, you're not condoning the eating of animal flesh. We do not encourage meat eating, whether it is goat, whether it is buffalo, whether it is antelope. We do not encourage. What to speak of cow? Cow is a very special creature. It is the most beloved entity of the Supreme Lord. That is why the Supreme Lord is called Govinda. You know, if I want to be friends with you, then I better be careful of what you love. And I make sure that I do not agitate things that you love. And so if I want to be around you and you have a dog, that you love this dog so much, and I hate this dog and I want to kill the dog, how am I going to expect to be friends with you? It's impossible. So Lord Krishna loves cows. He is always with the cows. And so killing cows means that you are trying to deprive Krishna from having fun with his favorite creatures, which is the cows. Now, as long as we want to live as human beings on earth, these animals can be killed according to the way the scriptures have designed or prescribed, and then there wouldn't be much problem, but we will still remain as humans. But here is the case that we do not want to remain humans. And because we do not want to remain humans, we're doing things that human beings who want to live in this world generally are not ready to do. If we wanted to live in this material world for as long as we possibly can, then we can go ahead and then kill animals like goats, deers, and eat the flesh. But we do not want to. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. And because we want to go back home, back to Godhead, Krishna has told us what he likes. Krishna is a person, and therefore he has likes and dislikes. In the Christian Bible, in Psalm 50, verses 6 downwards, the psalmist David prays and sings to the Lord because David saw that so many people were killing so much flesh and offering them to God and partaking the remnants of the sacrificial animal. And so they kind of made it like normalized. But David, who was a higher spiritualist than most of the other people in his generation, prayed to the Lord in Psalm 50, verse 6. Downwards, it says, "Oh Lord, you stretch forth your hand and you fulfill each and every one's desires." And it says, "You own the birds in the sky. You own all the animals on the mountains. And if you wanted to drink any of their blood, you wouldn't have asked the blood of these animals from anybody. You would have killed them and enjoyed the blood yourself." So in that quotation, we understand that God does not take interest in the killing of animals. But there are some people who, based on the influence of the modes, will be forced to enjoy the eating of flesh. And if even you are in that mode of ignorance and passion that you want to enjoy flesh, there is a prescribed way of doing it, which will gradually elevate such an individual to a platform where a time will come that he will say, "I am no more interested in meat eating." It's just like sex life also. We have vanaprasthas, we have brahmacharis, we have sannyasis. These three different ashrams have nothing to do with sex. We are not supposed to be engaging in sex, but some of us at some point are unable to do that. And therefore, the same scriptures give us the ability to become grihastas, but not grihamedis. Because when one is a true grihasta, gradually he will come to the level of vanaprastha and finally to the level of sannyasi. So yes, meat eating is not condemned outright, but it is not meant for a higher class of human beings in society. And therefore we see, even in today's world, there are so many people who are vegetarians, not because of spiritual purpose, spiritual reason, but because they come to understand that meat consumption is not very suitable for this human body. This human body is not suitably designed by Lord Brahma to consume flesh. And that is why the more we consume flesh, the more lazy we become, the more diseased we become. The more we eat herbs, vegetables, fruits, the much likelihood that we become much healthier and much stronger. And so even if you're sick, you went to see your medical doctor may recommend eating less red meat. Because by doing that, by following that, it helps the body. And once the body is helped, it also goes to help the mind. And the mind is what we need to use to help us regulate our dedication to Guru and Krishna. So yes, meat eating is not condemned. We as Hare Krishna devotees, we do not encourage it. And therefore, whenever we're speaking to anyone, we try to discourage such individuals from eating meat. But within our hearts, we should not condemn them simply because they are eating meat. And thinking that because we are not eating meat, we are better than them. In some way, vegetarians are better than meat eaters, in some ways. For example, for health reasons, but the mere fact that we are not eating meat should not make us feel that we are better than anybody else. The cow is vegetarian, the rabbit is vegetarian, but that does not make them better than any other animal like the lion. In what sense? So that will be my response to your beautiful question with the beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know if that helps, and devotees, if anyone may have further contribution to this question, please, you may do so.
Yes, sir, the problem, yeah, it does satisfy me. Because the reason why I ask this question is, you see, often time we see devotees condemning meat eaters for the fact that we are vegetarian, or for that matter, Krishnatarian. So that's the more reason why I come out with this quotation for clarification.
Yeah,
Because
it's a preaching strategy.
yes, I understand that. Yes, meat eating. In fact, I was doing a little research, and it found that those who breathe only air live more than those who eat only vegetables. And those who eat vegetables, they live longer than those who eat flesh. So I understand that aspect also. But for the fact that we are vegetarians, thereby we go by condemning the meat eaters, that is the aspect I don't agree with devotees. So thank you for the clarification. Hare Krishna.
Yes, of course, devotees will condemn externally, superficially, we will condemn meat eating, but internally, we should not be condemning the people who are eating meat. So this is where this principle of hate sin, but not the sinner, come into play. See, because one other thing, in the ancient days, we also had people who used to do animal sacrifice. You know, in the ancient Jews period, they used to do animal sacrifice. The ancient Greeks, they used to do animal sacrifice. The ancient Vedic principles, they used to sacrifice animals. But these sacrifices were more or less a way of testing the potency of mantras. It's just like in this modern age, you know, scientists will come up with some sort of medication, medicine, or scientists may come up with some medication to a particular disease. And in order for them to test the efficacy of the medication, they first of all try that on an animal that has lots of semblances with human beings. You know, rats have lots of common semblances with humans. Rabbits, rats. So sometimes these scientists will try the medicine first on these animals to see how the animals react. And if the animals react positively, then they can now transfer that to humans. And there was actually one, I don't remember the name, one person, he actually had a group, very, very well established group. They're still in existence in New York City. And they advocate for animals. They advocate for how scientists use animals for testing their medicines. Says the animals also have right to live. So why are you testing these medicines or like antiviral on these animals? And thereby they're losing their lives. But it is better to lose the life of an animal than to lose the life of a human, because the human body is understood to be the surest and the safest boat to help the soul cross over this ocean of misery to the ocean of non-anxiety. So we may externally condemn or publicly condemn animal consumption, meat consumption, but within our hearts, we should not be so antagonistic to those who are eating meat simply because they're eating meat. No, like you said, and of course in the purport also, the purport was talking about Kshatriyas. Bhima ate meat. No, there are lots of great sages in our scriptures who ate meat. And the mere fact that they ate meat does not mean that they were no more spiritual. But this is the danger. We do not try to go beyond what our prescription has been given. I learned this from His Grace Kuntia Prabhu, that in the scriptures, there are so many descriptions given, and there are few prescriptions given, descriptions and prescriptions. So many things have been described in the scriptures, but we have to go by what has been prescribed for us. When we're sick, we go to the hospital. There are so many medications to a particular ailment we have, like maybe I have malaria. The doctor knows so many different medicines that treat malaria, but the doctor gives me specific malaria medications, maybe 2 or 3, and he says, take these medications, take them this way, take this one in the morning, take this one before you go to bed. And if I follow what the doctor has prescribed for me, that is how I will get over my ailment. If I go and say that, why did the doctor just give me quinine and not this other, what do you call it, medication, so I'm going to take it, then I'm not going to get well. And so there are so many descriptions in the scriptures, but we should try to stick to what has been prescribed for us. What Srila Prabhupada has prescribed for us is no meat, no fish, no egg consumption, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. So if we stick by these, then we are likely going to get healed from our material disease. So that is just what I would like to add to the beautiful question on Adinana Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Shri Hare Chakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you for your class. All glory to good day, all glory to King. All glory to the assembled devotees. Yeah, I have a question, but before I ask my question, I just wanted to contribute a little bit to the question of Nandini Dhanam Prabhu asked. Like you were saying to him that the scriptures, they describe a lot of states, a lot of scenarios. Like the scriptures describe how Bhima got married to a Rakshasa. So does that mean that we should also get married to Rakshasas? Certain things have been described, but that doesn't give us that doesn't tell us we should go in for it. So similarly, the devotees of the Lord, their duty is to bring people gradually from the mode of ignorance, gradually up, maybe to the mode of passion, up to the mode of goodness, and ultimately to the mode of pure goodness. And there are some prescribed things that help us make that upliftment. And one of the things that helps uplift our consciousness to that mode of goodness, is the type of food that we eat. And so that's why the Achayas, they always put emphasis on how we should abstain from certain types of food and then be more concentrated with other types of food, which will gradually help us to uplift our consciousness from the mode of passion, mode of ignorance, mode of passion to mode of goodness at least, and eventually be able to get the promotion to the mode of pure goodness. So of course, like you were mentioning that monkeys and rabbits and all these animals, they are vegetarians, but that doesn't mean they are in the mode of goodness. So we as devotees, we do that to help people uplift their consciousness to the mode of goodness, so that if we tell them something about Krishna, it will sit well with them. It will be able to penetrate their ears, and they will be able to apply it in their daily life. So that is the little contribution that I have towards not eating meat, because sometimes some conditions God permits, when some conditions arise itself for people to go into meat eating, but that doesn't mean they should remain there. And a perfect example is biblically, when God prescribed the food for man in Genesis 1, verse 29 and 30. Everything he prescribed was herbs, vegetables. He never permitted them to eat meat. But the same God in Genesis 9, verse 3 to 5, after the flood of Noah, he permitted man to eat meat. But when he asked them to eat meat, there was a condition to it. When he asked them to eat vegetables, there was no condition. But when he asked them to eat meat, there was a condition to it. And the condition is that for every meat that you eat, you should pour the blood out, because for every blood that you drink and you eat, I will ask the life from you. Genesis chapter 9, verse 3 to 5. So, similarly, Krishna does give some instructions, and sometimes the instructions are there to help us to uplift our consciousness to a particular level. But unfortunately, the human nature is such that even though some emergency may arise and we will be permitted to take certain steps, but we become so used to it that we want to remain there. We don't want to uplift our consciousness. We don't want to go up. We just want to remain at the lower platform. And this is very unfortunate. And that is exactly what the Sankirtan movement is here to destroy. The Sankirtan movement is here to destroy people being complacent and wanting to stay in the lower modes. So the Sankirtan movement is here to uplift our consciousness to at least come to the mode of goodness, and then eventually come to the transcendental mode. So this is the little contribution that I have. But my question is, I want a little bit clarification, because when you were talking, you were speaking about that during every day of Brahma, and that day you described was like the 12 hours of Brahma, like from morning 6 a.m. to evening 6 p.m. of Lord Brahman's time. That 14 manus appear during the day of Brahma. So if that is the case, does that mean that each manu that appears does not even spend 1 hour of Lord Brahman's time?
Yes.
because if there are 14 of them, and
yeah.
his 12 hours, who appear in his 12 hours,
Yes.
it means they don't even come. I mean, they appear, and in less than 1 hour,
Less than 1 hour.
Their lifespan is finished.
Yes. It's very. Isn't that something?
Yeah. So,
yeah. I think I have something here to share. Let's see. I have something
all
here.
Right.
It says the age of the universe is 155.522 trillion years. The lifespan of the universe is 311 trillion years, which is the lifetime of Lord Brahma.
Mm-hmm.
So the age of the universe, which is 155, is just half of the 311, which we understand to be Lord Brahma's 50th year. And because it is 50th year, it corresponds to, which is half, it corresponds to half of the 14 Manus, which is the 7th. Now, time left is also 155.5 trillion years. And then age of the current Earth planet is 1.973 billion years. Age of current sun. So this is very interesting. Now, if we go down here, a day of Brahma, by human calculation, of course, Bhagavad Gita explains this, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together, that is 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, all these taken together 1,000 times makes one day, which is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. of Lord Brahma. So the 4 yugas or ages are as follows. Satya Yuga is 1,722,000 years. And then Treta is half of that.
No, not
sorry,
half.
It's
not half.
three-fourths
It's
of
minus
that.
432.
Yeah, minus
Okay.
432, which is 3/4. Tetra Yuga, which is 1,296,000 years. And then Dwapara lasts for 864,000. And then the Kali Yuga, 432,000. So this total 4 yugas, which is 4,320,000 years, 4.32 million. So 1,000 of 4 yugas is 4.32 million years times 1,000, which comes to 4.32 billion years. That is one day. That's one day time, 12 hours of Brahma is 4.32 billion years. And then the 4 yugas are also confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So yes, like you rightly put it, all these years of the Manvantara is not even up to 1 hour of Lord Brahma. Not up to 1 hour of Lord Brahma. And in each of these Manvataras, there are 71 Chatru Yugas. So when one Manu comes into existence, we have Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali Yuga, 71 times. That makes his lifetime. So it's mind-boggling how people can accept these facts. But it is what it is. That is what it is. So yeah, the entire duration of the life of Brahma and the universe of 311.4 trillion years is less than a second for Mahavishnu. See, this is another mind-blowing. When the Lord, when Mahavishnu breathes out, when he exhales, that is just the entire lifespan of Lord Brahma. 311 trillion years is just Mahavishnu's exhalation. And when he inhales, it also lasts 311 trillion years like that. So these facts are inconceivable. I mean, it's not possible for the human mind to conceive how that is possible. But like Ganga Prashad Prabhu was saying yesterday, even when it's inconceivable, it's still knowable. So thank you for the contribution and the question, Harichakra Prabhu. If you are satisfied, then we'll go to His Grace Samsadita Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace, please can you accept my respectful obeisances? All growth to Publisher Prabhupada and all growth to the wonderful assembled devotees. Thank you for the wonderful class. I want to make some contribution, and I have one question to ask about the about the animal killing. Even in Islam, if you have to kill any animal, the animals, you have to face it on the east. And there's these two words. There's one word you have to say, but this word always it comes with two words. That is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That Bismillah means I begin in the name of Allah. And the second one is the most gracious, the most merciful. So it always goes together in whatever you are doing. But when it comes to the animal killing, the moment you say Ar-Rahim, you cannot kill this animal. You cannot kill this animal because the Rahim that you said means the merciful. So you have to give mercy to this animal. So there's a restriction in that. That's one contribution I want to make. And yesterday I was listening to one Shrapaupa's lecture, even about animal killing, and he was using goat. And he said, even if you have to kill the goat, it has to be a dark moon. And you have to sacrifice this animal to Kali. And you have to say some mantras. That is where it makes me very afraid that this mantra is that I'm killing you and you have to also come and kill me.
Yeah.
That is what you have to kill this animal.
Yeah.
So even in Islam, like I said, I think they have this instruction to kill animal, but if you look very deeply, they don't know. If they know, they will not kill these animals. They don't know. So they are doing it out of ignorance. In other words, they think they are doing something to please Krishna, but they are doing it ignorantly.
Yeah.
So this is one contribution I want to make. And my question is, it is said that if you don't go to, if you didn't make it to the spiritual world, you go to heaven. And you have to spend some time in heaven and come back. And you have to continue till you will be able to go to the spiritual world. And it also said that if you are lucky, you are fortunate, immediately you leave your body, you will be born in a Brahmana family so that you can continue your spiritual life. So my question is that this heaven you go, is it really for enjoyment? Because if I have to go and stay in heaven for a longer time and come back because of the good I did, why is Krishna don't make you come quickly to born in a Brahman family or a place which you can continue your spiritual life to go back home? Then you spend all this time in the heavens because of the good you did, and you have to come back in this material world again. So this enjoyment is heaven. Is it really, really enjoyment or illusion? This is my question. If you can help me to understand that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you so much, Amsadita Prabhu. First of all, for the contribution, it's very interesting to learn what you shared with us about animal killing in Islam. That Allah, being all merciful, once you use that phrase, then you don't kill the animal. That's very interesting to know. I must also say I'm really happy to see my little brother here, Devarishi Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Prabhu. Yeah, Devarishi, that is here. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Devarishi is here today.
I'm driving, so I don't see all the.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's
yes.
Here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you for the question. You see, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states that ye yata tams prapadyante, tams tataiva bhajamiyaham. Krishna relates with the 11 entities on wages, not on salary. In other words, if you work for 1 hour, you get paid for 1 hour. No, like, I mean, in most of African countries, employees are paid based on salary. And that is part of the reason why things are not working well. Because employees go to work and they will not do what they're supposed to be doing. But they're going to do it anyway. But if you have to be paid based on what you did in an hour, and you work for just 3 hours and expect to be paid for 8 hours, that is not going to happen. And so when we are in this material world and we engage in activities that warrant us to go to heaven to enjoy the benefits of what we have done on this earth planet, then we go to heaven and we'll have those facilities as a reward for all the good things we did here. Now, there is the quotation in Bhagavad Gita 6:41, and I will never forget this because that was the first preaching I heard from His Grace Srivas Dasmanachari. When I first met him, that was the first verse he was treating, Bhagavad Gita 6:41. Prapya Punya Vrata Lokan. And he, of course, Srivas Prabhu always preaches so beautifully. And I was so much impressed by Krishna's kindness. But when one goes to the heavens, it does not mean that automatically you're going to come back on earth. It depends on what we do there. Just like we learned from the question His Grace Harichakra Prabhu asked when His Grace Srivasvanachari spoke on Monday, that we know from the scriptures that at the end of Lord Brahma's life, Lord Brahma and all his associates in Brahmaloka, they go back home, back to Godhead. But when His Grace was speaking, Srivasvanachari was speaking, he also said that not all the 11 entities on Brahmaloka go back home, back to Godhead. They only go back home if they are performing devotional service. So in the same way, when a soul from the earth planet is fortunate enough to go to the heavenly planets, their lifespan is way much more than our lifespan here. Everything about them is finer. If you want to eat food, their food is much nicer than our food. If you want to enjoy music, their musical art is much nicer than ours. If you want to enjoy sex, their sex is much better than ours. So everything is better than ours. And in the same way, if we want to engage in devotional service up there in the heavens, it's also much better. But because there is so much enjoyment, material enjoyment, it so happens that most of the time, the denizens of the heavenly planets resort to material enjoyment than to spiritual practices. Because in the scriptures, it is also said that sometimes those living beings in the heavenly planets are given the opportunity to see Krishna. They are given the opportunity to see Krishna. So it depends on what we do with what has been given to us. There is also a biblical quotation to this. The parable of the sower. You know, Jesus Christ gave a parable. Someone was given, like, say, I give you $1,000 for starting a business. And you tell me, oh, SAHADEVA, $1,000 is too little. What can I do with $1,000? And then I gave Harichakra Prabhu $1,000. I gave Anadi $1,000. I gave Devarishi $1,000. And they all started doing something with their $1,000 business just to make some profit. And then you say, because I said to you that if you are able to make good use of this, in the very near future, I will give you more. And so you just sat on your $1,000 and said, you're waiting for me to give you a little more so you can start your business. So I come and I ask, hey, I'm Sadhita Prabhu, what did you do with the 1,000? Says, oh, the $1,000, it could not start the business I wanted to start with. So I haven't started with it. I haven't started anything with the $1,000. I go to Devarishi. He says, oh, Sahadev, the $1,000, I started buying, let me say, Devarishi. Let me say Devarishi started buying incense and oils and selling incense and oils. And with that, he was able to make like 1,200, which means that he's been able to make $200 on top of the $1,000. So he's made some profit. I go to Harichakra, I ask him. He also tells me what he's used the money for. He says, I bought so many flowers and I got this. So that will eventually make me add some money to Devarishi Prabhu and Harichakra Prabhu and Yashoda and anyone whom I gave money to begin a business with, and they started and they're making some headway. But in your case, I'm Sadhita Prabhu, since you did not do anything with it, I'm going to take the money from you. That is the parable Jesus Christ gave us from the Bible. And it's so true, because when we go to the heavens and we just go and then we squander all the credits and we have nothing left, then we have to come back. But if we are there and we do much more than what we did on earth, then we can even advance. We will go beyond. And so in the scriptures, there is two descriptions of how the living entities go back to Godhead. One is that one goes directly from this earth planet to the spiritual world. And the other one is one goes step by step. You go to this higher planet, you perform devotional service, and then you continue, you go to higher, and then finally you are able to enter into Vaikuntha. So Krishna is not delaying the living entities in the heavens so that finally they come here. No, he's giving all the living entities the allotted time to live in that particular body, in that particular world. And depending on what you do with whatever has been given you, you may either go up or come down. there is no stagnation in spiritual life.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful answer. Yes, because I was thinking that maybe you from there you can never go, you have to come back. But for the explanation, that means you have the opportunity to go to higher, and you can go back to home to back to order. So thank you so much. That is wonderful answer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said lots of his followers may end up going to heaven because most of us have a mixed devotional service, which is okay. Because if you offered me heaven and then earth, I would choose heaven. I would choose heaven over earth. So, there are some of us from Africa, in Europe, in America, but we know that the economic lifestyle in the developed countries are much better than economic lifestyle in Africa. But not everyone in the developed countries live a very wonderful economic life. There are many people in America who live on the street. And there are a few people in Africa, they live in palaces. So whatever we do today is going to determine who we're going to become tomorrow. Who we're going to become tomorrow. So sometimes I tell people, some people may say, oh, Sahadeva, you're such a nice man. You're very nice to me. I say, I'm not a very nice man, I'm selfish. But I'm an intelligent selfish. Because as I'm trying to render something good to you, I am sowing, so I'm going to reap. So if nothing at all, someone will do such same kindness to me. Okay. So if even we are so selfish, why don't we try to be intelligent selfish? Let's do good to others, because he who does good is never overcome by evil. So, well, thank you all devotees. I at least realized that we've been here for almost 2 hours. We're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute. And we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to the Supreme Lord for giving us this opportunity, these 2 opportunities, hearing from the Lord and about the Lord and his devotees, and then the ability to chant the holy names of the Lord. And we are here hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is not different from Krishna. And we have our chanting beats that we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and sometimes we go on the street and we chant the holy names in a loud voice. These are the 2 processes to go back to Godhead. So we thank the Lord for that. So you may all unmute. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Kripa Sindhya Rikachari Tamam Vaishnav Vivyo Namo Namaha.
Ananta Koti
Namaha.
Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to Jagat Vishnu Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
All
Jai.